Hey guys, it's Mark again from Christ-Centered Fitness. In some of my previous videos, I've talked about how to improve your spiritual life by means of prayer and by means of learning how to read the Bible. And today I want to touch on something a little bit more difficult for some people to receive, and that's going to be the topic of church. So the question I really want to kind of address here is, do Christians need to go to church? So if I believe in God, if I accept Jesus as my Lord, do I need to go to church, or can I just worship privately on my own? And to answer that question, I just want to touch on a few verses that kind of resonate with me and kind of give me some direction in this regard. And when Jesus is speaking to Peter at one point in the Bible, he says to Peter that he is going to be the rock upon which he will build his church. So Jesus, now leaving, knowing he's about to be crucified and be gone in the near future, says that one of the things he's going to leave behind, one of the things he's going to leave as a legacy, is a church. So you imagine that you come to earth with a specific plan in mind. Jesus didn't come to earth and just kind of willy-nilly do whatever it was that he felt like doing. So one of the things he planned on establishing after leaving was his church. So keep that in mind, okay? He plans to build a church. In Hebrews, it says, "Do not neglect meeting together as some others have, because you need to encourage one another, to exhort one another, to carry each other on as things go forward in time." So he says this. It says in Ephesians that husbands are to love our wives in the way that Jesus loved his church. In other words, we are to love our lives in the way that Jesus laid down his life for his church. So when you think about that, I mean, who do you lay your life down for? Do you lay your life down for, people that you don't know, that you don't like? Jesus came and he laid his life down for what he loved, his legacy that he was leaving behind, which is his church, okay? And, it says in the Bible also, in Colossians, I believe it says that Jesus is the head of the church. He is the head of the body, right? So in essence, when you say, I don't want anything to do with the church, you're essentially saying, I don't want to deal with anything that Jesus is the head of. So I think the Bible gives enough evidence that we, as Christians, as believers, are meant not to be lone wolves and spending time exclusively on our own, but to be part of a body, to be part of a church community. Now, to be clear, a church isn't a building. A church is the people, the collection of believers who come together. So no specific building has to be a church. You can have church when you're hanging out together over the dinner table with a bunch of other people, all praising God, sharing in experiences and stories and testimonies, building each other up. So that can be church, but the idea is that you want to commune or spend time with other believers. And there are a number of reasons for this. Of course, it says in Hebrews that we want to exhort and encourage one another. But also, there's a verse in the Bible that says, faithful are the wounds of a friend. And what that basically means is that, when your friends care enough about you to tell you the truth that's going to hurt, but it's going to do things for your benefit, those are the kind of people that you want to have around you. And that's what your church body is called to do. Your leadership are called to build you up and tell you the things maybe that are hard to hear, just like a good parent or a good friend would say, hey, I've noticed that you've been doing this, or, not to condemn you, but ultimately to help you kind of shave off some of the things that hold you back. It says iron sharpens iron, in the sense that one believer sharpens another, and we continue to help each other fulfill our purposes. So the point I want to make to you is that church is an integral part of a Christian's life. And if you don't have a church, I would encourage you to find one. Now, there are many possible objections. Maybe you've been offended by the church before. Maybe you've realized that churches aren't perfect and that a lot of things go on in churches that can be disheartening. And the reality is that, yeah, that does happen. In fact, churches are run by people. And, it's difficult to plant yourself into an environment where things aren't perfect when you are expecting it to be godly. But I think what it really comes down to is it teaches you how to extend grace and how to serve. So, as challenging as it might be for you, my encouragement to you is to find a body of believers that you feel are going to help you fulfill your purpose in your life. And a few good things that you can look for when you're looking for a church. First of all, you want to find a church that is Bible believing. You don't want to take people who are taking the Bible like a buffet and taking some and leaving other parts out. The Bible is the Bible. It's meant to be eaten together as a meal, not like trail mix where you pick out the pieces. So that's an important part. You also want to find a church that emphasizes service. So in other words, not just to serve you, but ultimately that expects you to ultimately serve, because in submission to service, you learn how to be more selfless. And that is really how Jesus was, whether it's serving inside the church or from inside the church to the outside, right? So that's another thing that's important. You want to find a church that believes in the power of the Holy Spirit and that is focused on prayer, that encourages reading of the Bible and asking questions and discussion around those kind of things. And also, I would think it's very valuable if your church has small groups, connect groups, cell groups, whatever they call them, to go from the bigger context into smaller settings where you have opportunities to really share and discuss things, wins in your lives that you want to encourage and support each other with, and also share some things that you're struggling with in your life, and so people can kind of come and lift you up in prayer and in practical ways. So those are some practical things I'd like to encourage you to do is step out this week. If you don't have a church and you're a believer, then find those people who are going to walk beside you and help you fulfill this purpose in your life by running this race alongside you. Again, the church is not to serve your purpose, but to serve God's purpose and developing people so that we can reach more people and ultimately expanding his kingdom and making us who he wants us to be. So that's what I got for you today. Again, if this video resonates with you, if you have questions, please like, share, comment, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a great day.